Picture this. You're sitting in traffic and a brand new truck pulls up next to you. Spotless chrome, leather interior, a payment so large it would make your mortgage officer sweat, and the person behind the wheel probably earns less money than you do. So what exactly is happening here? My name is Marcus, and this channel covers the economic forces that shape how Americans earn, spend, borrow, and fall behind. If you have ever wondered how your neighbor drives a $70,000 pickup while complaining about grocery prices, stay right here, because this video is going to answer that question completely. Before anything else, let us establish the scale of what we are actually dealing with. The numbers here are not just surprising, they are record-breaking. According to Edmunds data, the average new car payment in America just hit an all-time high of $772 per month in the fourth quarter of 2025. Not a luxury vehicle, not a performance car, the all-time average across every new vehicle purchase in this country. And from there, it gets worse. More than 1 in 5 new car buyers, specifically 20.3% of all new finance purchases, are now paying over $1,000 per month. That figure is also a record high, up from 18.9% just 1 year earlier. These payments stretch across 6, 7, and sometimes 8 years. And by the time that final payment clears, many buyers will have sent more than $80,000 to the lender before spending a single dollar on insurance, fuel, or repairs. Now you might be thinking wages must have risen enough to absorb this. They have not. The median household income has grown, but nowhere near the pace that would justify these payment amounts under any traditional financial rule of thumb. And with 2026 tariffs on imported vehicles and parts already beginning to drive cost increases that analysts expect to reach sticker prices this year, this problem is not getting better on its own. So how did we get here? The answer goes back more than 60 years. The Federal Reserve published a report in 1963 called Automobile Installment Loans at Commercial Banks. That data shows that 69.5% of all car loans at that time had terms between 31 and 36 months. Only 0.7% of loans exceeded the 36-month mark. 3 years was the standard. Today, according to Experian Q3 2025 data, the average new car loan term is 69.1 months. More than double what it was 6 decades ago. And 20.8% of new car buyers, that is 1 in 5 Americans, are now signing loan agreements of 84 months or longer on a vehicle that starts losing value the second it leaves the lot. 3 forces drove this shift, and each one made the others more powerful. The first force that pushed car loans from 3 years to nearly a decade is something most buyers feel but rarely stop to calculate. Car prices grew dramatically faster than American wages. In 1963, the average new car cost $3,233. The median household income that year was approximately $6,200 annually. The average car represented about 52% of a household's annual earnings, roughly half a year's salary. As of Q3 2025, the average new car transaction price has crossed $50,000 for the first time in history, according to Kelley Blue Book. The median household income today sits around $84,000 per year. That puts the average car at roughly 60% of annual household income going into 2026. We went from cars consuming half your salary to cars consuming nearly 2/3 of it. Here is the number that makes this impossible to dismiss. Adjusted for inflation, that 1963 car should cost approximately $32,000 in today's dollars. Instead, it costs $50,000. That is an $18,000 premium, 56% more expensive in real terms than cars were in the 1960s. We did not get 56% richer to match that increase. And in 2026, new import tariffs are expected to push new car prices even higher. The gap between what cars cost and what people can genuinely afford is widening right now. The auto industry's answer to selling a $50,000 vehicle to people who cannot actually afford it was to stretch the loan. Make it 6 years, 7 years, 8. The monthly number starts to look survivable even if the total cost quietly ruins you. That brings us to force number 2. Banks discovered that long loans are dramatically more profitable than short ones. Take a $40,000 vehicle financed at 6.7%, the current average APR per Edmunds Q4 2025 data. On a 36-month loan, your monthly payment is approximately $1,234. Total interest paid over the loan, roughly $4,400. Stretch that same loan to 72 months. The monthly payment drops to around $683, which looks like a win sitting across from a finance manager, but your total interest paid nearly doubles. The lender collects thousands more from you for the exact same vehicle, simply because the payments are spread across more years. Multiply that difference across hundreds of thousands of buyers every single month, and you see why banks built their entire auto lending model around promoting longer terms. Longer loans also create more missed payment opportunities, more late fees, and more instances of negative equity where the buyer owes more than the car is worth and cannot refinance out. Banks collect at every stage of that cycle. Force number 3 is that dealerships learned longer loans allow them to sell more expensive vehicles to the exact same buyers. And this is where the monthly payment question stops being small talk and becomes a deliberate sales instrument. Imagine a customer walks in and says they can manage $500 a month. The salesperson now has 3 options: a $30,000 car on a 60-month loan, a $35,000 car on a 72-month loan, or a $40,000 car on an 84-month loan. All 3 produce approximately the same $500 monthly payment. But the dealership earns more profit and the salesperson earns a higher commission on the most expensive vehicle. The incentive to push the longer loan on the pricier car is built directly into the entire compensation structure. Watch any car commercial and stay through to the final seconds. Almost without exception, it ends not with a purchase price or a total cost figure, but with a monthly payment number, because that is the anchor they want fixed in your head before you walk through the door. The industry has completely repositioned the baseline. A $772 average monthly payment is now described as normal. 6- and 7-year loans are treated as standard. This did not happen on its own. It was engineered through decades of deliberate marketing, misaligned incentives, and financing language designed to keep buyers focused on the one number that conceals everything else. So how are people actually surviving these payments month to month? For many of them, the honest answer is they are not, at least not without paying real costs somewhere else. The most common approach is restructuring everything around the car payment. Some move to smaller apartments or stay with roommates longer, specifically to free up cash for the vehicle. Others eliminate dining, skip vacations, and carry zero savings. There are people packing lunch every day and deferring every financial goal while making payments on a truck worth more than their entire net worth. Some are taking on second jobs, driving for rideshare platforms on weekends using that same expensive vehicle to generate the income that flows directly back into paying for it. A loop with no natural exit. Others are raiding retirement accounts or taking 401k loans to cover down payments or repair bills, giving up compound growth they will never recover. The credit card shuffle has also become common, with fuel, maintenance, and insurance all going on to revolving high-interest debt to preserve cash for the car payment. Using 20% APR credit card debt to subsidize transportation is the financial equivalent of digging a second hole to fill the first one. Perhaps the most structurally damaging behavior is using home equity to fund vehicle purchases. A home is a wealth-building instrument. A car is a depreciating one. Using the first to subsidize the second has the equation completely backwards. This problem is frequently not limited to a single vehicle. The average American household now owns more vehicles than it has licensed drivers. 2 simultaneous car payments in a household is ordinary. 3 is not unusual. When you stack the payments, combined monthly obligations can approach or exceed what the household pays for housing. These families are managing multiple depreciation schedules, multiple insurance policies, and multiple loan due dates on a single household income. Insurance costs alone consistently catch buyers off guard because they focused entirely on the loan payment while shopping. Insuring a $60,000 truck costs significantly more than insuring a $20,000 sedan. full coverage, collision protection, and gap insurance, all of which lenders typically require on financed vehicles, can push premiums on a single expensive truck well past $200 per month. According to Insurify's 2026 data, full coverage car insurance now averages $173 per month nationally. On a high-value truck in many states, that figure goes considerably higher. For a household with multiple expensive vehicles, total insurance costs can reach $500 per month. That is $6,000 per year just for the legal right to drive assets that are losing value every single month. Modern trucks and SUVs are also mechanically complex. Advanced driver assistance systems, sophisticated emission controls, multi-speed transmissions, premium suspension components. All impressive, but expensive when something fails. A standard brake service on a late-model truck can run $800 to $1,200. A transmission failure can cost $5,000 or more. Significant engine work can exceed $10,000. The majority of people carrying large car payments hold zero dedicated repair savings. When the bill arrives, it goes on a credit card or triggers another loan. According to AAA, the total average cost of owning a new vehicle is $11,577 per year, which works out to roughly $965 per month when you include everything. Most buyers sitting in a dealership finance office have never seen that number, and the finance manager has no incentive to show it to them. Fuel rounds out the picture. A truck averaging 15 miles per gallon in real-world driving conditions, with gas prices between $3 and $5 per gallon, burns through more than $400 per month for a typical commuter. That fuel cost alone is roughly what an entire car payment looked like for many buyers just a decade ago. Let us run the complete numbers on a typical scenario so the full picture becomes impossible to ignore. Someone purchases a $55,000 truck with a 7-year loan at 6.7% interest, right at the current average APR per Edmunds Q4 2025 data. Monthly payment, approximately $829. Total paid over the loan, roughly $69,600. Layer on the real costs. Insurance at $250 per month adds $21,000 over 7 years. Fuel at $350 per month adds another $29,400. Maintenance and repairs over 7 years, conservatively $15,000, likely more based on AAA ownership data. The total, well over $130,000 spent on transportation over 7 years. The truck at the end of that period is worth approximately $15,000. They spent over $130,000 to end up with a $15,000 asset. That is not transportation financing. That is wealth destruction delivered in monthly installments with a touchscreen and heated seats as compensation. Redirect that $829 monthly payment into a diversified index fund earning 8% annually. After 7 years, over $75,000. Not only does the person who avoids the truck payment escape the cost, they build a substantial financial position while their neighbor's net worth quietly evaporates one payment at a time. Now let us talk about the negative equity trap, because this is where the situation becomes genuinely inescapable for a significant number of buyers. Take a $30,000 car on a 36-month loan. After 1 year, you might owe $20,000 on the principal while the car is still worth $24,000 to $25,000. You have positive equity. Options remain open. Take that same $30,000 car on a 72-month loan. After 1 year, you might still owe $26,000 while the car has already dropped to $24,000 in market value. You are underwater after 12 months. You owe more than the vehicle is worth, and you are just getting started. This played out at massive scale during the pandemic car market. One documented example, a Tesla Model Y purchased for $72,000 in 2022. By 2024, the buyer still owed $52,000. The car was worth $38,000 on the open market. That is $14,000 of negative equity locked inside a loan with years still remaining. A 36-month loan would have brought the balance close to zero by that point, regardless of depreciation. The longer term guaranteed the underwater position. The dealership response is predictable. Trade it in, roll the negative equity into the new loan. The buyer ends up financing a new $50,000 vehicle plus $14,000 carried from the previous one, wrapped into a fresh 84-month term. The payment stays manageable. The total debt grows. The cycle continues. None of this operates at the scale it does without a powerful psychological dimension. The automotive industry has invested enormous resources learning exactly which emotional triggers to activate in buyers, and the results are visible in every dealership, every commercial, and every highway crowded with vehicles most people cannot comfortably afford. The central message across decades of automotive marketing is consistent. Your vehicle is your identity. The truck you drive signals your work ethic, your success, your reliability. Driving something modest feels like a public admission of failure. The commercial showing a truck crossing dramatic terrain in perfect lighting is not selling transportation. It is selling a version of yourself you want others to believe in. That most buyers never get close to terrain like that is entirely beside the point. Once someone commits to an expensive vehicle on this emotional basis, rational financial analysis becomes nearly impossible to introduce from the outside. Suggesting a reliable used car is not received as practical advice. It lands as an attack on their self-worth. They will defend a $900 monthly payment with the same conviction they would bring to any deeply personal decision. The financing desk reinforces this psychology at every step. Payment too high? The term gets extended. Nervous about reliability? Here is an extended warranty you can finance right into the loan. Concerned about depreciation? Do not think about it too hard. You will probably want something new in a few years anyway. Every rational objection has a scripted response designed to keep the transaction moving toward a signature. Now here's what you can actually do about it. Strategy 1. Think in total cost, not monthly payment. Take your monthly transportation ceiling, multiply it by 36 or 48 months, and subtract your down payment. That is the maximum vehicle price you can absorb without overextending. On $500 a month over 36 months with a $3,000 down payment, your ceiling is between $15,000 and $21,000. That points you toward the used market. That is exactly where it should point you. Strategy 2. Calculate total ownership cost before entering any dealership. Edmunds publishes true cost-to-own data on virtually every vehicle. Use the AAA figure of $11,577 per year as your baseline expectation for total ownership cost, not your post-purchase surprise. Strategy 3. Follow the 2410 framework. 20% down, no more than 4 years financed, all transportation costs under 10% of gross monthly income. At $84,000 per year, that means every car-related expense combined stays under $700 monthly. At current prices and a 6.7% APR, this rule now functionally requires buying used for most households. That is the rule working correctly. Strategy 4. Target vehicles 2 to 3 years old. The 2022 and 2023 model years have absorbed the steepest depreciation from the pandemic markup era. A Camry that sold new for $32,000 3 years ago may now be available for $24,000. Someone else paid $8,000 in depreciation before you touched the wheel. With 2026 tariffs expected to push new prices higher, the value gap between new and slightly used is growing right now. Strategy 5 for anyone already in a long loan. Make extra principal payments if your contract allows, shaving 12 to 24 months off a 72-month term with an extra $100 or $200 per month. Or commit to driving the vehicle 3 to 4 years past the payoff date with 0 car payments. Or explore refinancing to a shorter term if your credit score has improved. The monthly payment rises, but total interest drops, and you exit the trap faster. There was a time when Americans took 3-year car loans, paid them off, and drove those same vehicles for years afterward with no payment at all. That model built genuine financial flexibility. It created room for savings, investment, and the ability to absorb unexpected costs without going deeper into debt. That model is still available in 2026. It just requires refusing to accept what the industry has spent decades constructing as normal around you. 6, 7, and 8-year loans are not inevitable. They are a deliberate choice that benefits lenders and dealerships far more than they benefit the person signing the paperwork. Every year this trend runs, more American households are locked into payment cycles that consume the financial oxygen needed for everything else. Emergency funds, retirement contributions, home down payments, and the basic ability to handle an unexpected expense without going further into debt. The data tells the story clearly. Americans collectively owe $1,655 billion in auto loan debt, according to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. That is 8.9% of all American consumer debt, the second largest category behind mortgages. We have turned vehicle transportation into the second biggest debt obligation in the country, on assets that lose value every single day. The average age of vehicle trade-ins is now 7.6 years, the oldest since 2019, according to Edmunds data from early 2025. People are holding on longer because they cannot afford to enter the market again. That is not a sign of financial discipline. That is a sign of financial exhaustion. The person driving a paid-off 6-year-old sedan is not losing a competition with the person making $1,100 in monthly payments on a new truck. One of them is building toward financial independence. The other is locked into a cycle that keeps them exactly where they are regardless of how hard they work or how much their income grows. The numbers do not lie. The system is specifically designed to keep you paying. Every tool in the dealership, every commercial on television, every financing structure offered by lenders is oriented toward maximizing the total amount extracted from buyers over the longest possible period. Understanding exactly how that system operates is the first and most important step toward refusing to participate in it. Buy used when you can. Keep the loan short. Calculate the total cost before you fall in love with the monthly payment, and drive that vehicle until the wheels fall off. If this breakdown gave you a clearer picture of what is really happening with car payments in America, subscribe to Atlas News Report. We cover the economic forces that matter most to your financial life every single week. Share this video with someone who is about to buy a car in 2026. It might be the most valuable thing they watch before they sign anything.